You guys, I haven't planned out what I'm going to say at all. I'm just gonna go for it and retell you again what happened to me tonight. Okay, I went back to the Red Seal Ministries place, which is the very first place where I was slain in the spirit and had the vision of the boys and felt the heat in my face and didn't even know what it was and was super confused. In the time span of 1 week, I felt this heat in my head 3 times and felt the Holy Spirit moving through my body numerous times. And I went from a person who didn't know if anyone really truly ever was slain in the spirit or like received these, well, I guess I knew because Kylie's testimonies were really good of receiving physical manifestations of your healing in your body, like in my case, heat. To today, I went there and oh my gosh, the most amazing thing happened. I kept looking around the room. I don't know why, I just kept feeling like I just kept sensing something, maybe. So I just kept looking around the room. I wanted to see everyone. So I saw this woman who was sitting next to a really old woman, and they were speaking up at the front. And then I looked back at that woman later, and there was a young woman who was like, it almost looked like her daughter. She had her head like laying on her chest, and she was tracing her chest with her finger, and she had like this little red heart thing on the end of her finger, and she had like her face resting here on her, and she was tracing her lung here, and she was speaking something, and I noticed them, and this was the woman who was laying on her chest was just a normal looking white woman with blonde hair, 20s. And then the people up at the front, they finished giving their talk, and they were like, okay, now we're going to give out words of prophecy for people that we feel like we have a prophetic word for. And one of the women at the front said, was that your daughter who was sitting with you, and where did she go? And I looked back and I realized, oh, the young woman was gone. She disappeared. Maybe she went to the restroom. And the woman who was still sitting there said, no, that wasn't my daughter. It was an angel. And I was like, what? I thought I misheard. I was like, no, there's no possible way. Because I saw her. I saw a real girl sitting there. And then everyone else was like in shock because they didn't see it. They didn't see anyone else sitting next to her except for the really old woman that was still sitting there. And then I asked my friend who was sitting next to me. Yeah, I have a new friend now because I've seen her at like 3 different events. I was like, who did she say was sitting next to her? And she said, an angel. And I said, did you see her? And she said, no. And I just started sobbing because I knew in my heart that I had seen an angel. And so I asked so many people afterwards, did you see her? Did you see her? And they were like, no, but I think you saw her. And so then I went up to the woman afterwards and I was like, I saw her. I saw your angel. She's real. You're going to be healed because you had an angel. And then she held out her hands, and I could see on her hands she had this gold shimmery glitter all over her hands. And I couldn't stop shaking. And the woman who had it on her hands, she couldn't see it herself. But me and the woman who had the prophetic word for her could see it. And so we prayed for her to be able to see the gold shimmery on her hands. And then she saw maybe a little bit of it. And it was all over her hands. It was... You guys. Oh my goodness. What is happening? It's amazing. And yeah, I went up to the front and I got prayer, and I felt more heat in my head again. So that's the 3rd time I felt heat in my head in a different area again, and I was shuddering. I felt pressed for time a little bit, so I didn't feel like I could fully allow myself to go into the space of like asking God to show me what he has for me like I did the last time that I was there. But my friend prayed for me afterwards, and I told her what my specific prayer request is, because now that I feel like I've been fully healed, my specific prayer request is I want it to show up on the MRI that like this is a brain that hasn't even been touched, and they will be shocked and they'll almost want me to do another MRI, because they'll be like, this can't possibly be your MRI, because my brain has been cut into 3 times and has had parts of it cut away, and it's like it should be an angry brain right now because of all the inflammation and just craziness of radiation and chemo. And I want them to see none of that. They won't see any of it. It will be a whole healthy brain, and they'll be shocked and amazed and call it a medical miracle. Also, I prayed for my friend who said that she was having this pain in her side, and it reminded me of my diverticulitis, and also reminded me of being told that once you've been healed of something, you have the authority to pray for other people for healing for that ailment. And so I was like, I have to pray for you, and she had asked me to, so I put my hand on her and I was praying for her, and I felt a little heat in my fingers and she felt heat in her side. And Jesus is so good.